Delighted to be joined by Southampton legend Claus Lundekvam, who made over 400 appearances for the Saints, many of them as captain, between 1996 and 2008. How are you doing, Claus?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. Yourself?
Yes, very good, thank you. Now, obviously, we're going to be talking a lot about Southampton over the next half an hour or so. But for now, before that, obviously, we're talking just a couple of days before the delayed Euro 2020 kicks off. How excited are you for the next 4 weeks of football?
Always very excited before a big sort of tournament, and obviously Norway is not involved, so it's it's England we're gonna follow this time again. So yeah, England should have a great chance this year. I really think so if they can put the right team together. I'm a bit disappointed that James Ward-Prowse is not in the squad, but fingers crossed for England. But there's some strong sides there.
Who else are your favourites? Obviously, there's Germany, Spain, France.
Yeah, I think normally the big countries. Obviously, I looked at France last night. They looked very, very solid. Big squad, so much quality. Mbappe up top is they're going to be lethal, I think. Obviously, Spain is always up there. Germany, Belgium can do a good championship. So now it's quite a few teams, I think, and I hope there will be some upsets as well. Some of the underdogs will go far away.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Norway just then. Obviously, you played for 40 times. They fell just narrowly short in their qualification hopes. But with the likes of Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard, do you think that the future is pretty bright for Norwegian football?
Well, it should be, considering the sort of talent we have playing in top European clubs. But obviously, I think it will take time for Ståle Solbakken to get the best out of the players, because when they only get a few days together to work on obviously Ståle is just come in as a head coach for the Norwegian side, and they've only had a few weeks together. So I think it will take some time, and that's been proven in the friendlies we played. So but hopefully when it comes autumn, we kick off the qualifiers again against the Netherlands. So it's not going to be easy, but I think if we can get these young stars in their right position for the national side, I hope we can have some good years in front of us. But I do think it will take some time, because we haven't looked that great, to be honest, in the warm up games at late.
How would you have tried to defend against Erling Haaland? It would have been a tough job, wouldn't it? He's very, very good.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's one of those you see very, very rarely. As a young determined, he's very professional. His hunger is unbelievable. Obviously, I know his dad, played alongside his dad for quite a few internationals, and obviously he was in the Premier League when I was there. So he's got a good mentor in his dad. But his talent, his raw talent, is quite astonishing, really. And what he's done already this season for Dortmund, and he hasn't really clicked into the national side yet, but we know what he can do. So he's a fantastic prospect.
Do you think, it just seems with his presence and his strength, he seems kind of made for the Premier League? Do you think at some point in the future he may end up in the Premier League?
I hope so, because I do think Premier League is the ultimate sort of test for any player. You can play in obviously in the Bundesliga, in La Liga or whatever, but the schedule of games and the sort of hype around the circus around the Premier League is is something special. It's something unusual for any player, I think, to come into. So, but I'm sure there will be a lot of top clubs looking to sign him in any of the windows coming up in the summer or even at the New Year window. So for his sake, I think his development, my personal view will be to stay another year at Dortmund. I think the manager or the style of play they play is suited him perfectly. And he will grow as a player, and most of all, he will mature as a person, as a footballer. So hopefully, he's not jumping too quickly. We looked at Martin Ødegaard. Obviously, he went to Real Madrid, the world's biggest club, very, very young, and we haven't really seen the sort of development or the sort of blossom of Martin yet. He's played some good games for Arsenal, yes, but for the national side, he's not been, for me, he's not been good at all. But hopefully he can develop as well. He's still young, but he's for me, he's lacking a bit of that sort of hunger, that sort of passion, going past players. He's not strong enough. Yeah, he's great on the ball. His technical abilities are great, but I expect more of him to put it that way.
Now, you made your move to the Premier League in 1996. I think Graham Souness was the manager of Southampton. What do you remember around that time, and how did the move come around?
Well, it came around very quickly. The whole situation, me signing for Southampton, came around one game, one evening, and I was a Southampton player. I knew there was some interest from a few clubs, a couple of German clubs. I know Benfica was interested. I know a couple of English clubs, but Southampton obviously had watched me a couple of times, and Graham Souness and Laurie McMenemy was over to this particular game when I played at Brown here in Bergen. I think they liked what they saw for the second time, and we sat down that evening down at the fishing market in Bergen and signed a contract. And under a week later, I made my debut against Forest at the Dell. So it happened very, very quickly. I only had 2 days training with the squad before I was straight in there. I do remember, obviously, the pace of the game and the physical side of the Premier League hit me like a brick wall. I do remember, Jesus Christ, how I'm going to get through this, how I'm going to... Yeah, I needed to learn very quickly, but luckily I did. 12 years later, I was still there.
I think I read that when you were growing up in Norway, Liverpool was your team in the UK. So did you know of Graham Souness beforehand? How big a part, did he play in the move? Well,
obviously having a Liverpool legend coming over to sign you was a thrilling part on its own. So I'll forever be grateful for Graham Souness taking me to England and the Premier League. I'll still speak to him now and then, but that obviously started a long, fantastic life and career at the Saints.
Yeah, so obviously when you arrived in the squad at the time was Matt Le Tissier. What were your first impressions of him in training, and is he one of the most gifted, football players that you've ever played with?
He is. Well, obviously, as a foreign player coming into a brand new dressing room, a brand new squad, obviously my English was poor and my dress sense was poor, which I was pointed out every single day. But I thought that was very funny, so I kept making my teammates laugh for 12 years. But Matt obviously was the star of the team. I soon learned that, obviously, and before I came, obviously, I've heard about Mathieu Tissier, all the fantastic goals he scored. But seeing him in training every week, every day, he's one of those rare talents, I would say, who's got a very special gift. His finishing with both feet, his control on the ball, his sort of touch and awareness where the goal was at any time was just blinding. So a player with so much talent. He should have obviously played a lot more games for England. I think obviously it was a time when Gasser was in that sort of role, so I think that was probably one of the reasons he didn't get any more caps for England. But we were very lucky to have Matt in our team, and even though he didn't run very much, we were happy to do the running for him as long as he won the games for us, and he did that very often.
And I think you two became pretty good friends, didn't you? Because I know you've told this story before, but after he scored the final goal at the Dell in that 3-2 win over Arsenal, it ended up with you having to buy him a whole case of Malibu and Coke.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a funny story, but obviously he deserved it. I promised him if he won the game for us that day. Obviously, it was a special occasion, the last ever sort of Premier League game at the Dell ever played, and what a fitting finish! You couldn't have written it better. Obviously, a fairy tale finish. Him coming on and winning the game for us with a half volley from 16 yards. It was just unbelievable. And the thing was, I had a bonus in my contract of quite a healthy sum of finishing top 10. And with a win that game, we finished 10th. And obviously, I had to drive out and buy a case of Malibu and a case of Coke for him on Monday morning. So I fulfilled my promise, and it was a bit funny.
Were you sad to leave the Dell? Obviously, it was an amazing old ground, and I think when you were there, Southampton moved from the Dell to St.Marys. It was quite hard initially, wasn't it, to get the momentum at St.Marys of what the club had at the Dell?
Yeah, it was. I think every club will find it difficult to adapt to a new stadium. Obviously, but we needed to move. The Dell was too small, and for the growth of the club and staying in the Premier League, we needed a bigger stadium. So it was inevitable to move to a bigger stadium. But when St. Marys was there, obviously it took some time for us to really adjust to the surroundings and really have the sort of home advantage of the stadium and the crowd. So that's quite normal with any team. But after a while, obviously we love the St. Marys. Still love it today.
One of the standout results at the Dell during your time at the club came not too long after you joined. It was the 6-3 match against Man United. Was that one of your favourite games and one of your best wins in a Southampton shirt?
Yeah, it's definitely up there with games I've played for Southampton and Norway, and it was one of those. I don't know what hit you at the time, because I was in my first season, meeting Manchester United, obviously a huge side, and in the late 90s, they were sort of unbeatable. They won everything. But every side, especially the big sides coming down to the Dell, they hated it. It was intimidating, and we were in their faces from the first second. So and they always had some excuses. But beating United, obviously at the Dell in '96, is one of my favourite games. Yeah, absolutely. And it was such a end-to-end game. I had an assist in that game as well, I think. So it was crazy, but obviously a fantastic feeling beating the champions.
And then I have to ask you about this. So a few games later, you played Leeds at home, which is the now kind of infamous game where Ali Dia came on. What do you remember about that? So when you were playing central defence and then he comes on to replace Matt Le Tissier, how long did it take you to know that, hang on, something's not quite right here?
Well, I think his second touch obviously was a tackle. I think we all knew pretty quickly with his movements, with everything, his adjustment to the ball on the pitch. It was like fish up in a tree. It didn't fit, but obviously it was such a surreal feeling, all of it, because obviously he came in. We had so big expectations of him being a sort of relative or a nephew of George Weah. So it was a big piece in the Daily Echo on the match day on him being a fantastic talent. So we've had big expectations. Started on the bench and came on for Matthew, and we saw quickly that obviously this is completely wrong, and it's not very often you get subbed after coming on. But the strange thing was we never saw him again. He was not in the dressing room. He was not to be seen ever again. It's a very surreal moment in football for Southampton Football Club.
Very strange indeed. Now, just moving on to some of the amazing players who you did play against. So obviously during your era, you'd have come up against the likes of Shearer, Henry, Cantona, Bergkamp. I think you played against Cristiano Ronaldo as well in one of your final seasons. Who's kind of stood out for you? Who was the hardest to defend against?
Obviously, I've had that question a million times. I think, and I will give the same answer, obviously, because Thierry Henry on his day was unplayable. Really, he had so much pace. He was a clever player. He could drift in and out of games. He read you really well, and it was very difficult to sort of pick up because he looked disinterested. He just wandering around and then just explodes. And with his pace and his ability on the ball and his finishing, he was honest. Like I said, on his day, he was just unbelievable. I loved playing when I was playing against those sort of big, strong strikers at old in English football, like Duncan Ferguson, Alan Shearer, and those sort of players. I love playing against them. There was such a tussle and such a battle against those big, strong players. Obviously, great in the air, great physical side of them, but obviously I was pretty quick, not as quick as Thierry Henry, I have to say, but they couldn't run past me. So I like to sort of read the game and pick up the pieces from my centre half partner. So I like playing against those sort of players. But obviously, like you said, I've played so many world star players, and like you said, Ronaldo. And a few international games when we played Zinedine Zidane, the other Ronaldo, the old Ronaldo, and Raúl for Spain when he was at his peak, Fernando Torres when he played at Atletico. So many memories of star players that you've been up against, and you sort of you sort of look back and think, I was there, and it gives you a great feeling playing against all these. Some of them are still playing, and some of them have gone into coaching, and you see quite a few of them now in the international arena.
What do you remember of the first 20 seconds of the FA Cup final in 2003 with Thierry Henry coming flying past? That must have been quite a scary moment.
Well, I think I was still asleep. It just like we talked about Thierry Henry and his abilities, and he caught me stone cold really. He spun behind me and off he went, and the pass was perfect. So I had no other choice to either let him go or have about 10 yards of water skiing behind him. Luckily, he stayed up. He tried to stay up, and that was funny really, because every time I played him after that in the league, he mentioned that game. He mentioned that sort of pulling on the shirt. And obviously, we all know I was lucky. I think if that happened a bit later in the game, the referee would have sent me off. So I was lucky to stay on the pitch and finish the game. Obviously, we lost 1-0, but being involved in an FA Cup final, even though it was played at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, it was one of the talking about the 6-3 win against Man United. The FA Cup final was fantastic, and for the club, supporters, everyone involved with Southampton Football Club was something very special.
I think you got Norwegian Player of the Year that season and the following season. That was when Southampton were managed by Gordon Strachan. I just want to talk about some of the managers who you played under. I think you played under around, must have been 9 or 10 managers, including caretakers in the end. It was the likes of Glenn Hoddle, Strachan, Redknapp, Souness. Which managers did you enjoy working under the most?
I think obviously the couple of years Gordon was there, Gordon Strachan. We hated him when he came in. I have to say, because he ran us so hard, and his training regime was so relentless of hard work. But obviously, after a while, we saw the benefits of being. I think when he was there, we probably the fittest side in the league, and we had what we also had. We had the consistency of players playing every week. I think the sort of 11, 12, 13 players we had was on the pitch for most of the season, and so we were lucky to not have many suspensions, many injuries, which on paper I would say, we were sort of relegation squad, but we had something special, and we had that togetherness of the team. You look at Leeds this season, with that sort of passion they show, the sort of commitment, work rate they have, and that reminds me a little bit of my early days at Southampton. We were willing to die for each other, and I think when Gordon came in, and he got the best out of us for those 2 years, and we had 2 top finishes. But he was, like you said, one of 9-10 managers I had in my time at Southampton, and I think I learned something from all of them in a good way, and maybe not in such a good way. But obviously, every time a new manager came in, you have to prove yourself again, and prove you deserve the spot in the team. Obviously, you could see the whole different sort of approach to the game from each manager, which was very different, I have to say, from one manager to another. But some great characters, obviously. Harry Redknapp was fantastic. He in many ways, even though he took us down, he was incredibly sad, and I will never forget it. To likes of Gordon Strachan, Dave Jones, who was a player manager who would look after you if you did the work, regardless. Glenn Hoddle obviously was world class on the training ground. In training, we were well prepared for all the games. That maybe on the personal side, sort of mentoring the players, one-to-one. He wasn't the best. He knew best at all times. And but like I said, I think I learned something from all of them, and it made me a better player.
And just talking of managers, so obviously in 1996, you weren't the only Norwegian to come over to the Premier League. Ole Gunnar Solskjær did as well. You've played against him many times, alongside him for Norway. How do you think he's getting on as the manager of Manchester United?
I think he's done pretty well, considering. Obviously, going to the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs in the world, is. I have spoken to him after he, obviously when he left. I wished him well and wished him good luck. And I did speak to him a few months later, and he did say that he didn't realise how much work this was actually requiring. Not only being the manager of so many world-class players, but all the pieces of the club he needed to be involved in. So I don't think he realised himself how much work and how big a club Manchester United actually are. But saying that, Ole Gunnar is faithful to his beliefs and what he stands for football-wise, and I think he's a good manager in the dressing room. He's made Manchester United look like a team again, and finishing second after City this year, I think it's a good Premier League season for them. But obviously losing the final to Villarreal was very disappointing, because as a manager for Manchester United, you are sort of judged at trophies, and but I think he's safe in his seat for the moment, and all depends now in the summer what they can do. Like I said, I think he's done a decent job, so it'll be interesting to see what follows. Yeah.
And do you still obviously keep an eye and watch Southampton now whenever you can? What have you made of their progression under Ralph Hasenhüttl?
Well, obviously, I follow them as much as I can. I watch obviously most of the games. Obviously, back from I obviously live in Norway now, but and obviously with the pandemic, I haven't been able to come over. So which has been sad and disappointing. I really look forward to come back over and watch the boys at St.Marys again and catch up with friends. And yeah, obviously we were top of the league in November, so and everything was flowing perfectly. We looked a great side, could beat anyone on the day, and I think Ralph and we proved that what we can do. But I think the style of play, I think the vulnerability of the style he want to play, Ralph, I think we are vulnerable, and if we have key players out, especially defensively and in midfield, I think it shows that yeah, we're not a big squad. Finishing the season was quite a disappointment, even though we stayed up, and I'm glad we did. But I have to say, I think Ralph is the right manager. I think I believe his football is the future. Is the right way to play. Maybe a few tweaks, and but I like his sort of high pressing game. I like his sort of regaining of the ball play, and the possession game he stands for is good. So, but obviously we're a small squad, and we need to strengthen the squad if we're gonna play that way he want us to play. So, but saying that, like I said, I think on the day we could beat anyone, and the football we played when we played well was fantastic. But obviously we looked very vulnerable, and it looked maybe a little bit stupid sometimes, conceding a lot of stupid goals towards at the end of the season. And I would love to see a little bit more work going into that sort of zonal defence. But hopefully they work on that in the summer.
Now, I'm just conscious that we're running out of time, just a couple of minutes remaining. So just so you were forced to retire with an ankle injury in 2006, I believe, and you've spoken very openly about the struggles that followed after that. I just want to know how important were the fans of Southampton and kind of helping you recover from, what was obviously a very difficult time?
It meant everything to me. The Southampton supporters was everything for me, and I still get a tear to my eye when I talk about it today, because it was such an important time for me, because I knew my career was over when I broke that ankle for the last time, or it snapped, the ligaments snapped, and I knew it was over. But I did try to come back, and obviously it snapped again. But then to sort of piece it together, to come back and play 12 minutes in my testimonial game was incredibly important for me, to say thank you to the Southampton fans who supported me for 12 years and given me so much joy and support. And I will always be incredibly grateful for their support. And I love the Southampton fans to bits. So that's why I look forward to come back and say hello to them. Given the circumstances at the time, they were very important for me, and obviously everybody knows about my struggles after my career, and I'm just very happy and lucky today that I survived those years. It was very, very difficult with depression and mental health issue and addiction to who nearly killed me. So, but I managed to beat that, and obviously having a really meaningful and giving life today. I'm working in the psychiatry and mental health and addiction field, helping others, giving hope and belief to other people that I can use my sort of history and my knowledge. It's turned out okay.
Absolutely. Well, you're fondly known as King Claus on the South Coast, so I'm sure you'll be welcome back anytime. And it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.